I've been reading from the book of First Kings lately, and I've come across two miraculous events that I don't ever recall ever hearing or reading about in my life. So the first one is about a king that points at a prophet and his arm instantly withers, and then how the grace of God intervenes. And the grace of God is just so untouchable, and it reigns supreme. Even in this story, the grace is just powerful. And then there's another story in this same chapter about a prophet who lies to another prophet, and then the aftermath of what happens in that story. So let's get into it. All right, let me bring y'all up to speed. This is where Solomon loses his kingdom, or he's told he's going to lose his kingdom because he started worshiping the gods of all the foreign women that he's married. So it was prophesied to actually one of his servants that he used to oversee the building of, his house and the house for the Lord, right? So Jeroboam is the guy's name. A prophet meets Jeroboam out in the field and tells him that God is going to give you 10 kingdoms from Israel, and Solomon's son Rehoboam is only going to receive 2 because God still wanted to honor David's bloodline. So he leaves 2 kingdoms to Rehoboam, again, which is Solomon's son. But again, Solomon is out of God's will at this point by worshiping these other gods. But unfortunately, Jeroboam also falls into sin by introducing 2 idols into the kingdom for the people to worship. Now he will begin to fall out of God's favor. So we're going to jump into 1 Kings chapter 13, but I encourage y'all to go back and read the earlier chapters as well, just to add more context to what we're about to get into. 1 Kings chapter 13. And behold, there came a man. You know what? I'm going to read from the NIV version instead of the King James version. Maybe a bit easier to understand. All right, I found the NIV version. Verse 1, and it reads, by the word of the Lord, a man of God being a prophet, came from Judah to Bethel as Jeroboam was standing by the altar to make an offering. By the word of the Lord, he cried out against the altar. This is the prophet speaking, the man of God. Altar, this is what the Lord says. A son named Josiah will be born to the house of David. On you he will sacrifice the priests of the high places who make offerings here, and human bones will be burned on you. That same day, the man of God gave a sign. This is the sign the Lord has declared. The altar will be split apart, and the ashes on it will be poured out. That altar, from my understanding, is the idol, the golden calf, or whatever it was that Jeroboam had built that the people were worshiping. And this is what the prophet is saying will be split in 2. When King Jeroboam heard what the man of God cried out against the altar at Bethel, he stretched out his hand from the altar and said, seize him. He's pointing like this, seize him. But the hand he stretched out towards the man shriveled up so that he could not pull it back. Also, the altar was split and its ashes poured out according to the sign given by the man of God by the word of the Lord. So his hand is pointed out. He stretched out his arm, pointing at the prophet, the man of God, saying, seize him. Instantly, his arm is shriveled up and he can't pull it back. It's like locked in place, shriveled up. That's miracle number 1. Then the king said to the man of God, intercede with the Lord your God and pray for me that my hand may be restored. Now, that's crazy in itself. To the man of God, he said, intercede to the Lord your God. So Jeroboam forgot about that. That same God was the one that put him in place to be king. You see how far he's separated himself from God now? That he's not even acknowledging God as his own God anymore. He's talking to God as if he's a foreigner, someone he don't know. That's how far he's separated himself now. Or, he's dug a hole that deep. So the man of God interceded with the Lord, and the king's hand was restored and became as it was before. The grace of God. To me, that's powerful in itself, because hear God punish you and instantly heals you, instantly heals them. That's the grace and goodness of God. I just find that fascinating that God uses you to teach you a lesson by shriveling up your arm and hand. But then moments later, because you asked the man of God to intercede for you, God healed his arm. I guess the question is, was it because of the man of God, or was it because Jeroboam asked? Probably was because the man of God asked, which is interesting in itself.